It used to be that there was 1 in 4 people that would get cancer, and now it's 1 in 2. Why do you think that is?
It's an acceleration of the environmental injury around the human experience that has been responsible for this. It's happened in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
1991, 92, we started to see a little, marked uptick there. And then by 2001, 2002, we were on a near vertical. And now with 1 in 2 males, nearly 1 in 2 females with cancer before they die, we are seeing a place of very accelerated aging, essentially, and such that we're not only seeing 1 in 2 with cancer, we're seeing children with cancers that used to happen in 80-year-old people. It's not unusual to see an osteosarcoma in a child now. Osteosarcoma is what 85-year-old women used to get. So what's happening in our environment to accelerate the rate of injury such that a 2-year-old is presenting with an 85-year-old disease? It's indicative of this loss of connection to the environment, loss of connection to our natural systems that would have supported or nurtured us into health. And that disconnect, unfortunately, is happening, again, epigenetically. So even my mother's injuries that she would have had being born in the 1950s, in that post-World War II era, her mother was getting sprayed with DDT, as were all suburban mothers at the time, because they were trying to kill mosquitoes, because it was thought to be highly at high risk for malaria and other conditions that we pointed to at the time, justified spraying all this chemical into our environment. And those grandmothers didn't really see much disease from it, but their children started to manifest a lot of disease. So we stopped spraying DDT in the late 60s, but we couldn't reverse the injury. It continued to be passed on down the line. And unfortunately, when you have these environmental toxic injuries to the genetics, it doesn't really present to its full degree of pro-cancer or pro-inflammation or pro-autoimmune until the 4th generation, at which time that injury goes not from epigenetics, but into the germline, meaning the sperm and ovum 4 generations out from DDT are now carrying the memory straight into that fetus of this programmed, trauma.
I've heard you say that healing is being whole. How do we heal?
Healing, bizarrely, is a process of remembering in some ways. And so your cells have to remember an original identity. And the way in which that's done in a system in which is actually atomic before it is cellular, so we're made out of atoms more than we're made out of cells or molecules. The molecules being based in atomic structure are extremely ethereal. And so every atom that would make up a molecule, that would make up a cell, is disappearing and reappearing every millionth of a second at the core level of its existence. And so the fact that a cell can show back up every millionth of a second and continue to show the same cancer means that its memory, its far back memory of who it used to be, got erased somewhere in the mix, and every millionth of a second it's appearing as it was just a second ago, And so the fact that you can go to sleep with cancer and wake up again with cancer means at no point in that sleep was your body able to reconnect the original information as to how it was supposed to look, what was the original template for biology. And when we see these spontaneous remissions, which is a word that we had to create in medicine because it looked too awkward to write the word miracle in the chart over and over again. And so instead of saying miraculous recovery, we say spontaneous remission. And it happens surprisingly often, where somebody with stage 4 cancer or whatnot has been tracked for months or years with their cancer progression, and then they show up for their follow-up and suddenly all the cancer is gone. But the interesting thing about most spontaneous remissions is you can't even find scar tissue at the places the tumors were. It was like the body somehow reverted back to this previous state that has made obsolete the entire cancer history in that individual. And I believe what's happening in those moments is the body suddenly gets reconnected to its original math. And it's simply in that next millionth of a second where it disappears and reappears, it simply just presents the original plan, which was here's a healthy liver, here's a healthy brain, whatever it is. And it's fascinating to me that we have so much evidence that we can go back in time like that and reconnect to some sort of original atomic structure.